Everyone. So I have an interesting video today. Um, I'm going to talk about why people believe the lies and fall for the deceptions of this world. With this crisis and the way things are playing out right now, people are ignoring objective reasoning and logic. They're ignoring the inconsistent narratives and just basic lies. And I think to myself, I said, why do people just aimlessly follow what they're being told without critical thinking? And so I'm going to try to make this a pretty short, concise video and just break it down as easily as I can. So I'm going to start, as always, for people who know me. I'm a biblical man and I speak through a biblical worldview. I'm going to start off with saying, without Creator, and this is God biblically, this world has always, from the beginning, I'm going to start from the beginning, not always, but from the beginning, simply supplied us with all we needed. It was already provided naturally. Our Creator designed us to eat the things that grew naturally with no processing needed, and we did so in balance with the earth, meaning that things replenished themselves, they remained in balance. This is how our Creator designed us to live in harmony with His creation. That's logical. We didn't need a person as a medium to acquire anything to survive and thrive. And we know that's not the case today. You see, with man, acquiring the choice to do evil by disobeying God, the world has now been established in the image of our sin, with sin biblically being defined as the transgression of the law of God or wicked, ungodly desires. That's the image of this world now. And not on the truth revealed by our Creator and His design. And our Creator does reveal the truth innately. It's already written in our hearts and minds. It's evident to the things we complain about, the universal standards of morality we hold others to as an expectation. You see, we already have this when we're honest, but many people are not honest. Many people, it's like a liar. A liar knows when they're lying, but they still do it. So I'm going to break this down as best as I can. You see, now war and evil and unjust murderers and psychopaths have built military arsenals to persuade us or people to enforce people with the threat of force of being locked out of society or death to follow these in authority. We're not thinking for ourselves. We're reacting out of fear, out of the fear of lacking and not surviving. And there isn't a authoritative governing body. They have seized power with the threat of force, military, to be our highest motivator. Basically, their way or death. And our current situation kind of proves that this is where everything is evolving into. No one knows the timeline, but you can see it for yourself. Also, people have been indoctrinated into a world that feeds the worst of our human nature. And why does it do that? To exploit, manipulate, and control us. We are taught what to think rather than how to think, over being established by an innate common sense when people are honest and consider others as they would consider themselves. You see, this world wants to lead you to believe that there's this secret knowledge that you have to be indoctrinated by another person to understand the basic simplicity of life. But that's only to exist in this system, in their narrative, which is used to manipulate, exploit, and destroy. Just think on that. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. But now with morality and logic now being a relative construct, even though how we live still reflects those absolute truths. People want to say, oh, everything's opinion and preference, but they complain and they draw truth claims just by what they complain about. What? It's simple, y'all. We have a world that loves lies, that offers short-term vain conveniences, which compromise long-term peace, order, and structure that would otherwise protect us from ourselves. Biblically, in the beginning, man was at peace with his creator. Understanding peace and order with him was the only option. And we did so willingly and joyfully. Because we didn't have the option of evil, which is simply going against his will and law. It only makes sense that the one who creates the world should establish the laws to live within the world. But man, using his free will and being tempted to disobey God, decided that we should establish our own rules outside the context of our creator and creation that would selfishly benefit us in a lie that would never be realized but forever will be sought to fulfill. People are out here chasing their tails, chasing a lie, an illusion, and destroying themselves and everyone else in the process. See, man thinks he can be like God. In a creation he did not create, or he cannot be, and we don't create anything new. We just use what's already created. And we ignore the clear limitations and consequences of our own morality that only God has the solution for. And he's revealed that. Not just biblically, but we know this if we're honest with ourselves. That's the common theme, if we're honest with ourselves. See, all we can do in this world is use what's already been created in the context the Creator has established for us to use it in. However, man can only corrupt and reject the intelligent design of God creation. And why does he do so? To acquire vain deceptions, cheap imitations, and things that feed the selfish feelings of man, not in favor of his original purpose and function under a perfect creator. See, this is why when we create GMOs and all these imitations, it kills us, because we cannot do anything outside of the design our creator and actually thrive and survive. We do so at the compromising of our health. Let's talk about a few things. The medical industry, for example, pure lies and deceptions. I already established that they don't cure anything. They're not creating the conditions where the body, with the proper nutrition, can self-heal itself. No, it's about creating disease. That's what they do. They create disease and then use the fear of death and desperation to make people ask them for their cure. But see, if people would understand the natural design of our Creator to eat real foods untouched by man in circumstances where our water supply, our food supply, our air isn't government controlled and regulated to put poisons in, we would thrive. But see, the medical industry, it's sick. It's designed to really weaken, sicken, and create fear, desperation, misinformation, and death for profit and control. I can't say it any better than that. And I got receipts. I show y'all this all day long. Technology, another issue. What has that done? It's made us dumb, lazy, uncreative, in the simplicity of thinking for ourselves to thinking as a hive mind collective that does not question any narrative given by the established authoritative governing bodies. People obey some guy because they have a piece of paper that has words on it. If you want to look at it as simply as it is, words, and under a doctrine controlled by government and corporations that never had the best interest of individual people in mind. But people go ahead and do it. You see, people have been bought and sold as slaves into a thought construct controlled by people who've invested tons of time, energy, and resources to hide the truth of things and collaborate to create a system of control disguised as fun, entertainment, convenience. That's how they get you. And they start this at young ages to indoctrinate the children with misinformation and narratives that will only cater to their vain, selfish ambitions, that come from the human nature against God and his purpose and design. You know, they first have to do this. Oh, okay. They first have to do this by convincing us that our lives are purposeless, meaningless, causeless, random chance, a function of chemicals with no intelligible design. That's the only way they can create a world where whoever controls how things are perceived and defined controls how people think and live. It's so simple. The sins of pride, hubris, selfishness are the main wicked desires being fed by the people in charge to control us, by our own ego or need to feel, like we alone are sufficient. We don't need God, even though we need people to validate us. We don't need God. That's how people are being taught. While only following the preconceived ideologies, defined constructs of people who only use fear and death. That's their weapons of warfare. They don't care. That's why they use threat of force. Plus, they have no eternal solutions in their lies, misinformations. And this is by design, y'all. These people at the very top, controlled by Satan, they know what they're doing. And that's why they purposely reward those with wealth and an illusion of power who push the narrative and agendas to fulfill evil, ungodly ends. You see, this world has everyone striving to be a part of a secret club that only we can enter if we compromise the truths that we all know are self-evident, push evil agendas, and have an undying loyalty to be a part of it. For what, y'all? Just for wealth and fame. That's on the surface. But deep down, it leads to a loss of our souls and minds over time, and we lose sight of objective reality for a slavery disguised as a happy illusion, just to be used as a pawn to seduce and entice the masses to live for things they promote while feeding the evil nature of people to lose sight of the things that are essential to us being at peace with God and to one another. People don't even believe or realize the concept of being a sovereign person in control of themselves, thinking for themselves anymore. But just living a life validated by a system determines our value by our zeal to be loyal and push the narrative of this evil system. Most people are living in a simulated program, y'all, designed to keep them lost, asleep, and empty, so much so that the vain fake illusions have become insatiable addictions. And the people who control feeding these addictions are the ones that control the masses. So I just wanted to put that up. It was a lot to pack in. I had to really think about this. Why are people just aimlessly following these people? They don't even have to have good lives anymore. They just follow them because they're trained to follow people who are put in this illusion of the system in a position of authority using the threat of force and death. That's what the tools they're using. So yeah, I just wanted to drop this one. Peace out. Many more videos to come. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank y'all for whoever's been rocking with me. I know this content is counterintuitive to what you've been told, but that's the whole point, to get you to think outside the matrix. Peace.